Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the Dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
Thursday Night Football is on, and it's only on Prime Video.
A game of inches.
This week, it's an AFC clash as the Baltimore Ravens meet the Miami Dolphins.
Can he get to the end zone? Yes!
Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern with football's best party. TNF Tonight, presented by Verizon. Not a Prime member? Not a problem. Simply sign up for a 30-day free trial. It's the Ravens and Dolphins. Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Prime Video. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Welcome to another Find the Edge production for the Premier League Cricket Club. Connecting players and coaches, clubs and leagues, volunteers and supporters alike, you're in the right place for the best of the 33 ECB Premier Leagues and the 20 NCCA counties, bringing you the stories, the stats and the standout performances that make this game great. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to both our Premier League and NCCA shows so you don't miss any episodes. Now, shall we get stuck in? So welcome everybody to the Overthrow once again. Premier League Cricket Show bringing you chats throughout the winter with people who are in and around cricket. There'll be players, there'll be coaches. And in this case, we've got a man who's making his name looking after bats. But more importantly, Hugh, I'm going to ask this question before we ask our guest. He's a bowler more than a batter. Would you trust someone who's a bowler more than a batter to repair your bat?
Do you know who I trust to repair a cricket bat?
Go on.
A man with skill in his hands, so bowler.
Fair point, well made. Hey, join us today, Mr. Chris Page from Elite Bat Refurbs, otherwise known as, to a lot of people on Instagram at the moment, Harry Brook and Joe Root, personal bat repairer. And I'm going to ask you some questions later on about the state of those bats because they were quite interesting. How you doing, Chris?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. The boys have, let's just say, kept you busy recently.
Yeah, just recently they have. Yeah, I saw Harry 2 days ago. I think he was doing a meeting with Athers, so I had to meet him up in Headingley. Drop off 5 or 6 bats for him. Obviously, he's off to New Zealand, isn't he? And then saw Joe last week or the week before. He had a few for me to do before the Ashes. So yeah, all good. Busy.
Obvious question. How the hell did you get into this bat repair lark?
I did furniture and product design at university. From there, I started making some chopping boards and serving platters. So that was maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I spoke to Joe and said, well, who looks after your bats? Because at the time I was trying to buy and sell a few bats. And there was a guy who used to, I don't know how reputable he is, but he was doing a few pros bats and he was selling bats as pro bats. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, well, surely I can tap into this market somewhat. But so I asked Joe who looks after his bats, and he didn't really have anybody. So yeah, I said I'd be up for it. So he brought 5. You'll have to check on my Instagram. I can't remember when it was. It was just before the Manchester Ashes. Right. So he brought about 5 or 6 of his and one of Mo Ali's. And yeah, they were my first bats. And they said, yeah, then have a go at them. No pressure.
The first bats you did with Joe Root?
Yeah.
Hugh, how do we follow that? Well, I suspect Joe isn't paying for them. So, if I've given you my bat and you break it, then it's like, mate, what's going on? Whereas Joe just go, don't worry. So I think you've got in at the right end.
that's okay until he says this is my number one.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then you're like, right, okay.
What do you do when you've got his number one? Then are you using different tools? Are you covering it in gold dust? Getting the cotton wool out to just little tiny things, or is it do you have to kind of forget about?
I've got a run rag, and I just rub it with the run rag, and hopefully it comes off. Yeah. So all these runs are basically down to me from the last Ashes. Yeah.
If you don't get a mention during the Ashes this time round on the commentary, I'll be a bit disgusted, to be honest. Then,
well, if I get mentioned, it's probably because his bat snapped. So no news is good news, I think, with that one.
Obvious question that you've just led me into there. He brings 5 bats to you.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they're all in different shape and form, and in fact, you see that one's been used more than the other. But as a decent club cricketer like yourself, when you pick these 5 bats up, can you physically tell the difference?
As a bowler, no. And bowler is a loose term, more fine like third man.
And what is it special with these balls and these bats? Because we're the same. We could pick up 20 bats and wouldn't know the difference between them. What is it? Just something that there's a feel, there's something about it for them.
They're usually very big and very light,
right?
And the ping is really good. But I mean, with cricket bats nowadays, like, don't get me wrong, these guys are at the top of the game, so they'll have the best tools in the business.
Yeah.
But cricket bats nowadays, like, you can still have a good ping, even if it's not, for a world-class superstar. It's just about dropping on, isn't it? It's a natural piece of material.
Yeah.
So it's not like this thing where, like a car, you can't go into a car garage and say, right, I want a Ferrari. It's going to be exactly the same each time, and it's going to be so much better than a Ford or a Nissan. Like, these things are natural, so it's a bit of a luck of the draw, and that's why they get invited down to the factories and they have a good knock-up and they spend all day there picking the clefts.
And they can almost tell from that cleft which one they want their bat making into, because they become experts at this themselves.
Yeah, pretty much, and they've got some great guys around them at the factories that pick clefts and say these are the best ones we've got. Obviously, it's in their interest as well. If you've got Joe Root using New Balance and you're from New Balance, you want to be making sure he gets the best willow so that it's good for business, isn't it?
Yeah, most definitely.
So that moment, when they're batting and Joe Root says on 30, and then he just looks, he plays a shot and he just looks at his bat. Is that, if you're sitting there watching Test cricket, you're thinking, oh shit.
I think he's giving me a ring next week. Yeah.
That's it, yeah. And then goes up, the bats come out. Eight bats come out, and he's I'll have that one.
Yeah.
So Steve Smith's the famous one. He's done that amazing thing on YouTube where he's blindfolded and he's got 20 bats in front of him.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, jump and watch. It's brilliant, and he's able to name exactly which bat is which. Does Joe Root have a sort of similar pecking order of bats? Is there number 1, number 2? This is the one I'm going to next, and so on, or is it a feel thing on the day?
I think most pros do. So they might have a T20 bat. I've just done Shan Masood's. He had one bat especially for T20. He had another bat for Test. It's they might be a bit lighter, they might be a bit heavier, they might be a bit bigger. It's horses for courses. So. Yeah, they've got the different ones. Harry Brook's got his number. They've all got number ones.
Yeah.
And they try to look after those. I mean, if they didn't have number ones, they probably wouldn't use me because they just get a new bat every time, and then there'd be no point in tidying them up.
So when a bat lands in your workshop to you, what are you looking for first? Walk us through that that process of what you're looking at.
What is that? Club cricket, any cricket bat?
Because I'm guessing you give service to everyone exactly the same.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah. So. Usually you can't tell the damage until you've taken the scuff sheet off and seen how bad the face is or how bad the edges are. Usually when you're pulling the sheets off, let's grab one. Usually when you're pulling the sheets off there, it might start showing a few cracks on the surface on the edges, depends how many times I've used the edge. So when you get a bat, unless there's any like noticeable like big cracks or anything like that, you don't really know what you're going to get until you start cleaning it up. But usually people will have a strong idea. They'll say, oh, the handle's cricking, or, there's a bit of damage here, or there's a loose face here because they can hear it. So they'll tell you as much as possible. And then once you start cleaning up, that's when you realise how bad it is.
And do you find that clubs guys versus pro guys are breaking bats in different ways? So
club cricketers haven't got 12 bats.
No.
Or usually they haven't got 12 bats. So they've got one bat they use for every format. Every ball they face will be in the nets. On the pitch is the same bat. So that bat will be considerably more used and more affected than like Rooty's bats, who's got one for netting, one for T20, one for test. And sometimes because the way the bats are made now, and they're a lot lighter, they're underpressed, you get more wood for your money, but they don't last as long. You know, you see these old bats that you come out and they're more linseed oil than wood.
Yeah.
And it's like thin and crispy and old and brown, and they'll last you a lifetime. You could build your house out of those, but it's not, you know, you won't get the power, which I'm sure you guys probably know with the stats. A lot more 4s and 6s are being hit nowadays than they were, 30 years ago. So when they've got the big bats like that, they're so delicate with them that they might not net with them. So they'll get one that's a similar shape or a similar weight. And say, right, I'm going to net with this, and I'm not using that until I have to in the matches because it's so nice. I want to keep it.
Okay, because they'll literally have 6 balls go, I love this one, leave it to one side.
Yeah, this is amazing. I don't want to damage this in the nets. I'm gonna use this just for tests, just for games.
Do you find people are too quick to get rid of a cricket bat? Is there, when, like if I get a big crack down the middle of it, generally I'm thinking that's going in the bin. Actually, a bat's more repairable than we realise.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I've just had one. I'll not tell you the make because I don't want to get anyone in trouble. But I've just had one that had a big crack straight down the middle, literally straight down the middle of the bat, and I've repaired it to see if I can get any use out of it. So I'll try that in the nets, and then that, not to sell on or anything like that, but it's good to know when people come at me and say, right, I've got a big crack down the middle of my bat, can you fix it? Usually I'll just try and be as upfront as possible and say, look, I can try my best, but there's no guarantee. So it's up to you whether you want to go ahead or not, because it's not like I can say, well, I'll do it for free. If it doesn't work, I'll give you a refund because I've still spent my time and labour on the bat. So it still has to be, still has to work for me.
And I suppose a crack down the middle like that, as Hugh said, that's as bad as it's going to get. So if you can repair something with that, it's all, apart from splitting it in half altogether, that's as good as it's going to get, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose the worst crack you can get is coming down from the V, running that way. So it comes down here, and there's just no way, any lateral crack through the bat that way, it's just unrepairable. I've tried. Someone gave me like an Australian-made grey Nicks and said, it's cracked like this. I know it's knackered, but if you want to have a go at fixing it for your Instagram, and I fixed it up. I had a net with it. It lasted 2 balls, and that's literally put towels through. And it's a shame because it was a brand new bat. It's just someone had not knocked it in properly, unfortunately.
Is that a Michael Carberry style crack, that one? When the old bat split in half?
I think so, yeah. Something like that. In fact, the bat I was on about that's cracked down the middle, like you said, is, can you see that there quite faintly?
Yeah.
And
it runs all the way up there to there and up the back, up the side there.
Wow.
And out there. So that was literally just in 2 pieces. So, I mean, it looks nice. But
And I suppose the downside of cricket bats, as we know, is because they are natural products, you can go to, we work with B3. You can go to B3 and choose from 20 bats from them, and 19 of them might be absolute blinders, and then one that came from the same tree, for whatever reason, because it's a natural product, splits on the first ball, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can get stuff like storm damage in the timber, which is really faint, like silver, like ripples or little marks, and obviously that's a lot weaker than like a piece that hasn't got storm damage.
Have you ever made a bat yourself as well?
No, I haven't. I've tried. When Joe stood his bat up, the guy who sends him his clef said, you can do it with this one. It was basically just a big fat clef. And he gave me that one, which is still somewhere in the workshop. And he said, it's a really nice piece of timber.
Yeah.
You shape it up. But I've tried, and it just takes so long. It's such an art form making a cricket bat. And the guys you see on YouTube and that, making it, just make it look so easy. And they do it so quickly. Whereas, I'd be too frightened of taking a big chunk out and ruining the shape.
So what's the oldest bat that you've had in the workshop to repair? There's a pointed question to that one because of my bat.
I don't know. They don't really come with date stamps, I'm afraid. The oldest bat I've got in my possession is a Duncan Fernley Magnum, which my dad's friend gave me when I was younger. I got it signed by the late Dickie Bird when we were up at Edinburgh.
Oh, bless.
So that's upstairs somewhere in a box.
Yeah, I sent my bat back to Newbury 3 years ago, and it was 30 years old at that point.
Wow.
And I didn't know you could refurb bats, to be frank. Sounds daft, doesn't it? But one of our lads at our cricket club walked in with his Newbury, and it looked absolutely golden. Thought he had a new bat, and he said, "Send yours off." Sent it off to Newbury, and got this very suspicious call from Sussex saying, "Just want to check that you do know we haven't got those stickers that you've got on your bat from 30 years." I said, "Hey, I don't care what stickers you put on." He said, "We'll do our best, but just to let you know, it's a bloody good bat, that, isn't it?" I was like, "How do you know?" He went, "Well, we've got to give it a knockabout, because otherwise, if it's not worth repairing and checking." It came back good as new, and I've had youngsters in our team play with it in the nets when we're doing this sort of under 15s, under 16s. They can't tell the difference, because I think you're right. They don't make them as they used to, but they make them differently now, don't they, Chris?
It's the shape, isn't it, more than anything else? So I'm guessing yours will be quite thin compared to the new ones. And then maybe 5-6 years ago, now Millie Champ and Hall used to make them with massive big concaves in, and they're an absolute nightmare to refurb, because you've got to try and get into that groove on the back. Whereas if they're a bit fuller, they're pretty flat, so you can sand it down quite easily.
Do you do much alterations? One of the things that bugs me is girls' cricket, women's cricket. The bats are too heavy, and you want performance, but you want the weight to be reduced. Do you do sort of alterations as well for someone that wants one reduced in weight, maybe for a women's game or for kids that want a lighter bat?
Yeah, I can do. I think what I would say though is each clef is made to a certain spec. So if you're trying to alter the weight of it, it's not being made to be that weight, if that makes sense. So you could be damaging the structural integrity of the bat. So I'd just be careful with taking it down, taking weight off. And what I've found as well is, like, the first bats I worked on, I'd be sanding them and thinking, God, don't sand it too much and don't take too much out of it. But when you actually come to take weight out of a bat, you get it on the weighing scales and you'll run the heavy sanders over. So I've got different grits of sandpaper. So I'll use a heavy grit, and you're like, right, it must have took loads out there. You put it back on, it's gone down like hardly anything. You think, God, I'm going to do it all week. Because the best way of taking weight out is all over the back of the bat. Probably not the face, because that's what's being pressed. But usually people opt for the toe, around that area, or usually around the shoulders. But again, that takes the integrity of the bat away.
Because each clef's been shaped with regards to how that piece of wood is. Again, the natural bit of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an art form. There's no two ways about it. Like you say, making these things is a bloody art form, and refurbing them is an art form. But how do you consider current bat makers compared to ones that you've had in the past? I mean, you've been doing this a few years now, but you've obviously had bats in that have been 5, 10, 15, 20 years. How would you consider the current bat making compared to the old ones?
Just with the underpressing and the weight, and they just seem to be more liable for cracking. But you're going to get that. But if you want that pro performance, then that's the risk you've got to take. I mean, that's why when I said earlier about the selling bats on, I try not to, because it's so much. Like, a lot of the lads pay me in kit, so they might say, "Oh, I've got this shirt, or I've got this jumper," and I'm like, "Sound, that's brilliant, thank you." I'll try and stay away from bats. I have got a guy who'll buy them off me, but it's like, if you're selling them to Joe Public, if they pay £400 for a bat, and then it breaks 2 seasons after, I mean, I'd still be thinking, well, I've paid £400 for a bat and it's broke. But I can't give any guarantee on that, and neither can Gray Nichols or New, or no one can give a guarantee on that. But if you're a big company who can replace the bat like that, you sound. I'm a little firm from a village in South Yorkshire. I can't, £400 has to be reimbursed, or it's just hassle. So I try and stay away from selling pro bats on.
Have you ever had a bat come in and you've just thought, what the bloody hell have you done to that?
I had one. Ben Duckett got in touch and wanted some binding doing on one of his bats before the Headingley India game. And when I went up, he saw it's only one bat. And I went up, and then he had like 6 bats lined up, and I thought, God, that's my week gone. And then Rooty were like, "Oh, can you do this one?" And then I think Jacob Bethel said, "Can you do this one?" And then Ducky was like, "Oh, this one's from Bride and Carson." I don't think it was misuse or anything like that, But the way it had damaged, I'd never really seen it before. It kind of like, when we talk about laminating of the face, it's when, if that's your solid piece of bat on a side profile, if it's got a thin bit that's split across and come away, so that's when you'll hear that tap, and there's like a bit of an echo, a bit of a delayed tap in it. His just seemed to like just split across like that, and there were bits of the bat flapping up, and it was so odd. I've not seen it before, but again, they're making these bats out of massive pieces of willow, and they're trying to make so many bats. I heard that there was a bit of a willow shortage last year. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but they've obviously just pumped loads of bats out, and you know, sometimes you'll see them and they're these butterfly bats, and they'll have big knots on, and you think, God, that's foul to look at, but you know, it still might perform really well, but it might not last as long as other bats.
Introducing Oakley Meta Vanguard, the new performance AI glasses designed for athletes. With hands-free capture on an action-ready ultra-wide camera, powerful open-ear speakers, and built-in Meta AI that syncs with your Garmin devices for real-time insights while you train. Take your performance to the next level with Oakley Meta Vanguard. Athletic intelligence is here. Learn more on meta.com.
You talk about DLAM there. I've got one here. This is an Aldred. It's got that sort of, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, that sort of echo, isn't it? Like it's almost like there's two layers. Well, there is two layers, isn't it? What is the performance-wise? You know, this seems to happen to a lot of the higher end bats. Performance-wise, does it make much difference? And also repair-wise, actually, is it worth repairing? Does it matter that it just echoes a bit, or is it you just crack on? It just doesn't feel quite right, but performs the same. And if you do repair them, what's the repair job on that? Because I've looked at that and gone, geez, you've got to basically take the face off and stick it back down again, don't you?
Yeah, to be fair, I don't like doing the lifted faces, but they are quite common. And I don't like doing it because, like, you see that bat I showed you before with the big crack down the middle, you can stand that up and it looks superb, and you can't really tell there's a crack in it. Now, if you go into delamination, what I try and do is, you see the grains on that? Yeah. I'll try and, wherever the let's say it's just there where it's delaminated, what I'll try and do is I'll get as close as I can on the grain. I'll take a knife and score down, because sometimes with delaminating, they'll split on the grain, that's a lot easier, because then you can slide something in. Got my little tools here. So you'll slide something like that in, like a little spatula, prise it up, get the glue behind it, clamp it down, and you're good to go. Now, if it's not split, then you've got to try and make an incision on that grain so that you can try and hide it when you've sanded it back together. But you always get a little bit of a dark line where the glue seeped through and you can't quite get it flush. So for a bit of a perfectionist like myself, doing delaminated faces, it never comes out as shiny as what you want it to.
And that one you talked about from Bryden Cast, and the way you've just described that, I'm going to put your furniture maker's hat. It's like a veneer, isn't it? And the way almost sometimes steam might get underneath it or something, and it creates that bubble. You can tell I did woodwork at school as well, and effectively that's what's happening, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you think about laminated furniture or laminated tables, you've just got loads of thin strips of timber, and it's usually a cheaper way of making furniture. So you've got a nice piece of laminate on the top, but you're not using a full piece of oak. You just have an oak laminate, and then that clamps together. But obviously, if those come loose, that's a delamination of the wood. And it's the same with cricket bats. The one of Bryden Carson's, though, it must have been it delaminated, but then it was really spiky down there, and a bit like there would pop off. I had to do it in about 3 or 4 sittings, which really bad delaminations. You have to work in, I work in strips, so I'll do like an inch at a time on the face. Yeah. Go through and make sure I get it all. And it's the sound more than anything. Performance wise, some people say it plays better when it's delaminated. All I know, it just sounds absolutely horrific. So it's best to get it fixed. And also, it could just spread up the bat. If it started delaminating in a certain area, there's no reason why it can't just keep going up the bat. Whereas if you get the glue, I was always told at university, when you glue a piece of wood, the glue is stronger than the wood itself. So if it cracks again, it'll usually crack at the side of the joint rather than on the actual bit you've repaired.
Oh, right. Just when you get, obviously talking about all these pro players that you've been doing bats for, do you find like a touring party, like India over this year, do you get anybody saying, I'm touring. Do you want to have a look at my bat? On the back of the England lads' recommendations.
Yeah, I've got a pal who works as the what's his title? It is team liaison or player liaison for the touring teams. So he's quite good at passing work on. So I did. Is it Mohammed Siraj? Did one of his bats from Headingley and got that back to the guy. I think the only issue with that, I did the West Indies guys as well. Did a few of them a couple of times. I think the only issue with that is that when you're dealing face to face with the cricketers, they're quite keen on paying you. They don't want it for free. So if you're dealing face to face, they're like, right, what do I owe you? And then you can explain that, well, just any kit you've got left over or any kit you don't use, I'll just take that as payment. You don't pay for it. I can probably sell it on for more money than what I'd charge anybody for a refurb. Because I don't think I'd charge people more money because the, professional sportsman. If it's 40 quid, it's 40 quid. Like that's, I'm not going to rip anybody off. If they've got a match shirt, I might be able to get 100 quid for it. And if they've got it for free, everyone wins there. So that's kind of like what I do. But if you're dealing through a third party, you don't get that face to face with the person for them to say, "Oh, what do I owe you?" They just go, "Oh, thanks, mate."
No, it's interesting that you said it was Mohammed Siraj, and you've talked about Bryden Carter's bat. Generalistically, are the batters pickier than the bowlers when they bring their bats along? Because your bowlers, whether it be a clubby or whether it be a pro, a bowler's going to have one bat if they're bloody lucky as a clubby.
Or
as a pro,
somebody else's bat.
Yeah, as a pro, they might have 2 or 3 versus Steve Smith and his 200. Is there more picky types of people, shall we say?
I'm not sure that's true. I'm a bowler in Basset Law, and I think I've got some of the best bats in the league.
Well, that's a surprise.
Not that I can use them, mate. I think I need to glue them together. But no, I think some of the bowlers, like, there's quite a bit of swapping that goes off unofficially. So I think if somebody like Wood had a good bat, I think he's been quoted by saying, he's getting it to somebody who's a batter.
Yeah.
And the best batsman should have the best bats. There's no point me having this or whatever. But yeah, the bowlers you don't see as many bowlers as the batsmen, and they will have 2 or 3 bats themselves, but it's they're usually brand new. Yeah,
the perfect role would be a boot repairer for the bowlers and a bat repairer for the bats, and do the 2 together. Do you think? I'm going to be careful how I put this because of our friends at B3. Have bats become, like a lot of the rest of society, I'm sounding old, have they just become more disposable for a lot of people?
Not for a lot of people, but for the pros. And then what happens is you want a bat like the pros, and those bats are a bit more disposable than ones that last forever. Or, sorry, older ones that might last a bit longer.
That makes sense. Now, the question I'm going to follow up with, be very careful how I put this. A certain individual, Mr. Josh Butler, is renowned for writing something on the top of his bats. And I'd heard it, and then I found out about it in particular when his brother turned up at my club playing with one of Josh's old bats. You ever been tempted with your bat that you bring in to put something in it, just something on there so it's your bat?
No, but I've drawn something a bit rude on Joe's bats before.
And then put it under the sticker.
Hoping that he'd find it mid-innings, which he did. So that was quite good. Just a little detail. I can't possibly tell you what it was, but just a bit of a detail there on the shoulder of the bat for him to and have a look at.
And your signature's got to be somewhere on it. It's a bit like the old Liverpool Tyler who put the Liverpool tiles underneath, or put his name underneath the swimming pool at Gary Neville's or something. He got to do something.
What was the guy who did? It was the guy who built Lincoln Cathedral. Didn't he put a little imp in the cathedral, and that's why they called it.
That's where they come to imps. Yeah, that one. There's got to be something, definitely. What would you say your signature is, though? Is there anything in particular about bats that you go, that's the one I can do, or is it just generalistic now?
The thing is, we like sponsorship and stuff like that. You can't. I've got some stickers made up, and if a club cricketer comes in, they're welcome to have a sticker on the back. But with the pros, they get paid so much for advertising. It could be, what's the word? A mismanagement of interests or whatever. So I tend to leave the bats unscathed when it comes to the pros.
They're bad enough at playing with other companies' willow anyway, aren't they? So and re-stickering them. So
yeah, some bat makers are really keen on the batsmen using their bats, and some bat makers are more liberal about it, as long as the scoring runs and it's got their logo on.
Yeah,
fantastic.
And obvious question is, can you tell the difference yourself personally with all of these top-end bats in your hand now, week in, week out? Can you tell the difference when you just ping one yourself and you go, bloody hell, that I can see why that is Root's number one? Yeah,
to a degree. I mean, the first thing is the size, the sheer size of it, how much flow they get into that bat. It's a double-edged sword, like we touched on before. It's you want these massive bats, but you don't want them to snap. But then you've got to press them, and then they're going to lose the size, lose the shape. I mean, this one was one that Ollie Pope gave me as a thank you for doing his bats, and it's a short blade, but I mean the size of that is just incredible. I think I probably put that edge on rather than Ollie. So that's the little sticker I was on about.
Yeah.
But it's a short blade, so I think one of the last times I used this, I walked out to the crease and someone was like, bloody hell, is that a mongoose?
And it's so short that it makes the handle look like an extra long handle, isn't it?
Apparently you're meant to hold it a bit further up the handle if you're a big lad, but...
Oh. What are the weights they're using? I mean, obviously they're big, but are they still fairly down in the weights, or are they, just because they're stronger, they're dealing with more weight as well?
Really. And a lot is to be said of pickup. So you might get a really heavy bat, but it might pick up absolutely beautiful. And that's all to do with the balance. And that's one of the reasons they have the weighted things on the top, the bit of tape. I mean, there's two reasons for that. They have, obviously, if you think of baseball, with the baseball bat, you've got that bit that pushes against your fist there. So you can drag the baseball. You've got something to pull against. So I think one of the reasons is that, and the other thing is counterbalancing all the way at the bottom. Because I know Joe's he's trialed with golf weighted tape and stuff like that, and all sorts. I saw one that was like a rubber insert that went over the top of the bat. That was quite cool.
And you're right about that baseball, so that nubbin at the end.
Yeah.
Because you see more and more cricket bats now with that right at the end, or they've got something extra, which I'm old enough to say, where the bloody hell did that come in?
It's what they do is they'll cut up a grip. So they'll cut up a grip to be about an inch, and they put it each one over the top of the other one, and then it just gets bigger and bigger.
And the irony is
my favourite is when you see a lad averaging 5 who's got it. He's walking out to bat, and I'm thinking, the lad cannot bat, and I'm thinking, mate, what's going on here? Yeah, but it's a bit of ammunition for everybody, but I love a bit of that.
Do you have any bats coming through your place that would be, shall we call them, sentimental? Does somebody come to you and go, oh, yeah, I'm sure Rooty's sentimental about his number one, let's go back to that one, but is there somebody who's scored their first ton or their last ton or their first runs? Do you ever get them coming through?
I'm sure they do, and I'm sure that's why club cricketers want to pay money to keep a bat going, because they've got that affiliation with it.
Yeah.
Because bats now, you can pick them up off Vinted, you can pick them up off eBay. So sometimes I think, some of the state of the bats that come in, you think, why are you even spending money trying to get this sorted when you could just put it towards a new bat? But obviously it's something to them. They enjoy playing with that. They enjoy the shape. They've got used to it. It's almost part of their trigger or their batting stance to that bat. So, they're quite keen to keep hold of it. I know, I saw Joe, and he'd got a lot of bats that he doesn't use anymore. Stuff like the hundreds he's scored, but he obviously can't keep them all. But the 100 that he scored, I think, in Ali Cook's last game. So he had about 4 or 5 bats at his house that were all, of sentimental value.
Every Who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton. But where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and low prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
And do you think, you tell me, do clubbies really know how to look after their bats? I won't ask about pros because we've always said they're disposable. But do you think clubbies could do better looking after the bats in the first place?
To an extent, I mean, it's a summer sport, isn't it? So it doesn't really the bats don't really get wet. I think monitoring any cracks you get or any surface cracks or toe cracks. I mean, that's what I see a lot of in the toe. It starts going really black when it starts picking up the dirt, and it's that can usually cause some problems.
Yeah,
I'm looking here. So this is my B3 from the summer. It's actually a refurb job from them. You probably can't see that, but this bit got taken off. That's why they gave me a very nice.
Some edges on that, Hugh.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's done a good job. So I'm looking at this. It's in its first year of use. What should I be doing other than just sticking it in the cupboard as I have done and completely ignoring it until April when I expect it to get me another couple of hundreds?
So don't keep it next to anywhere too hot or anywhere too cold. It needs to be, a decent temperature. You don't, like we said, it's a natural product, so you don't want it to be kept anywhere where it can swell. Or, I mean, one of the guys who used to play at our club, he left it underneath the the back boiler in his house, and it leaked. And when he came to get his bats, they were like this big,
blocking all three stumps.
Yeah, so you just have to look after them, really. Just don't leave them in your car, especially during the summer months.
Should you sand them at all or oil them, or
So they say not to oil them now. They say to keep them as dry as possible. Obviously, it's a weight thing as well, isn't there? So if you start oiling them, it's going to absorb it. It's going to make it heavier. And there's not, because like we were saying about this throwaway culture, and we've got these bats are being a bit more disposable. They tend not to. They're not made to last 7-8 years. You don't need to. They're not. They're not an antique piece of furniture. You don't need to keep them oiled up, and just keep them looked after. Just make sure there's no small cracks. Small cracks make big cracks, and big cracks make big damage. So
and if you've got a small crack, just a bit of home DIY. What's the home DIY? PVA glue.
Giving away all my secrets here, Hugh. So if you've got a big crack, this is just your decent grade wood glue. And you want to try and open up the crack as much as you can.
That's the bit that scares people, you see, which is why they should come to you.
So I usually start with the thin one to get that in, and then I've got a thicker one that's got a bit more purchase on. So the thin one goes in first, the thick one goes in down the side, take the thin one away, then try and prise it open and try and stick in as much glue as you can. You've got a straw, try and blow it in with a straw. People use syringes, but I've never really used one of those. Get as much glue in as you can, and then get it clamped up, because if you don't clamp it up, the glue sets, but you're not actually gluing the bat back together. You're just using it as a filler, which isn't great. If you've got any really thin cracks, which a lot of people get, and like surface cracks or things that aren't structural, is what I say, just use some super glue. Super glue it in, and what that'll do, I mean, I usually super glue it and then sand it. And if you sand it before the super glue fully goes off, it kind of picks up the dust, and it helps you hide the crack.
That's an old woodworker's secret, isn't it? That one. That bit of
nice. And as long as it's not structural, I'm not saying your bat's snapped in half, just super glue it back together. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying little surface cracks or anything that's not like flapping open, if you like.
Yeah.
I just to why you should use a professional rather than doing it yourself. So my young bloke cracked the toe of his bat. It was sort of a custom bat from Talent Cricket, great place in Loughborough, really good price, but it'd been going a year. He copped a new ball on the toe, split it, and it was on the way out. He'd grown, I think, so I thought I'll have a go at this. So I glued it, clamped it, very pleased with myself. He went out to bat, it held together, and then the next game, he looked down at the back of the bat. It was like, Dad, there's a crack on the back. And I was like, that'll be all right. And then the next time he hit the ball, the crack had gone all the way down the back of the bat, and the whole of the sort of I suppose what's the term? The lump in the middle of the bat that was basically just completely cracked, and I just clamped it too hard. So that is why you use a professional.
Can I give Chris his strapline now?
What's that?
Picture of what you've done, and it should have gone to Elite Bat Refurbs.
Well, absolutely. I've got the bat. Yeah, I've still got it. I mean, to be fair, it's all right in the nets. It still works as a net bat, but yeah, it's not. It's lost its potency.
I think my biggest enemy is bat tape. People get bat tape and just cover the bat with it, and then it's just a nightmare to get off. And it's not really doing much. If I'm honest, if your bat's cracked, you need gluing. It's a bit of bat tape's not going to help.
You know, when you go to the dentist and the dentist just gives you a bollocking, as most people do. This is what, I'm just looking around my bats through there. They're absolutely covered in bat tape, and I'm just feeling shame at this point.
Yeah, we should.
Of my age, it was just always electrical tape. Whatever you could get, just slap it around there. And the stickiness on the back of that, just horrible to say the least. But it's funny that bats haven't changed that much at the end of the day. They're still a natural product. They've been the same for X number of years. But like golf clubs, the technology that they're using to make them has just changed, hasn't it, Chris? And that therefore changes how you have to repair them.
I suppose the repairing now is more common because of what we've spoke about before with the bats being bigger. It's, I spoke to my granddad and he said he was in charge of, he used to play for Yorkshire schools or Yorkshire schoolboys or something like that. And he was in charge of looking after everyone's bat. And he said I used to stand him in linseed oil and leave him overnight to soak up all through the wood. Well, then that's it then. You'd probably never, ever get a break on it. It'd never snapping off. You'd be very unlucky if it did. Whereas now, there's probably a need for someone like myself because people want to look after these big, expensive lumps of wood.
So come on then. All the bats you've had over the last number of years, some very well-known faces and names and some proper run scorers as well. Nice that it's the run scorers and not just the bowlers who are coming.
I leave them out of conversation. That's why, like Ben Sanderson, I don't speak about Ben.
That's all right then. There's the name of it. There's the name of this pod.
Yeah.
Who have you not done that you'd really say, I'd love to have a go at his bats?
Well, one guy that I have worked on his bats indirectly is Virat Kohli.
Okay.
So I've done a few of his bats, and I don't think there's many people other than Virat and Joe. I mean, what more could you want as a batsman? Like, who else would you really want? So,
why was it indirectly?
Because there was a guy who'd been playing some cricket with him who'd got bats. So when I went to refurb him, I worked on his bats.
You don't fancy an IPL gig then? So a roving repairman for the IPL. I mean, they're the guys with the big money, aren't they? So shop you around the IPL circuit.
I think there's got to be an opening somewhere in the ECB for a travelling bat repairman. I mean, tennis players do it, don't they? They take someone to reset the rackets.
Yeah,
I think you need a mobile wagon. Get yourself a little motorhome, converted motorhome.
Well, I bought a van last year, so I can get everything in the back. And I went down to the Oval for Ollie Pope, and Gus Atkinson brought some out as well. So I ended up doing a few there, and I just worked from the back of the van. So I've kind of done that. I can turn up at Headingley, and as long as the grounds are happy with me working inside, obviously not on a match day, but
yeah. But why not on a match day? I'm just picturing the Barmy Army stood around watching you at Edgbaston just repair one of the bats that someone, that to me, that's proper entertainment, that is, Hugh.
They kind of do it, don't they?
Cricket's crap, yeah.
Alex from Grey Nicks, they usually have a stand, and he's usually set up making a bat around the ground. So I'd only be standing in his shadow, I think. I don't think I'd be outshining him.
Oh, I don't know. The job you've had to do is incredible, to say the least. The thing I was going to ask that I think you sort of touched upon was when you get someone like Rooty or Harry's bats, do they bring the stickers with them, or have you had to get all of these from the manufacturers? And because there's that many stickers that you bloody well need.
Do
you remember the 95 Merlin sticker book and the Swindon Town Shiny was the hardest one to get?
Yeah.
Panini 89 was my favourite sticker.
Well, that was easier to get than official bat stickers. They're incredibly hard. Just because, like I was saying, some bat manufacturers don't want to let their pros use other bats.
Yeah.
If they give them 1,000 stickers, to sticker up whatever they like. You know, I think they're thinking, well, if they use a bat that's not as well made as what we make and it snaps, it looks bad on us.
Yeah.
I think they probably should be a little bit more leeway to the pro players and say, look, we trust you to pick a decent bat. If you like the feel of one, and I think that does go off a little bit, but I just don't think they like it. But with the pros, it's always easier to get. It always makes a better job if I've got the stickers. So, like, Harry gave me the stickers to do his last bunch that I've just put on Instagram. Joe didn't. He had his stickers and he wanted to put them on himself. It just made it a little bit harder. So, with New Balance, although this is an old bat, it's still got the same kind of template.
Yeah.
So what I had to do is I'd got one of his old bats, so I made a template for the bat face, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to put stickers over the bat face, because then when you come to take the bat face off, it takes all the stickers off. So I made a template and I put it on just to finish underneath his stickers, so when he put his stickers on, it wouldn't interfere with the bat face, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If it makes a better job. Put the bat face on. Usually they'll want some binding around the toe, but put the stickers on first, then the face, because that sometimes overlaps depending on what, you know, like Gray and Nichols has got quite a big centerpiece, so you can go up a bit further with the bat tape, with the bat face, and then, you know, bind it after that and take it back as a finished item rather than taking it back as a blank clef, something like that one that's broke, because then you want to put a bat face on for them, because they don't. That's something that they haven't really got, but then they've got a sticker up over the top of that, so it sometimes makes it a worse job than having all the material to do. But that has to come from the pros. I haven't got, like, I don't know any of the reps or anything like that to send me stickers, and I don't think they would really. Like, I spoke to Alex about one of the bats that I'd got, and I said, would you be willing to send me up any stickers when I'm ready to refurb it? And they said, well, no, but if you send it here, I'll refurb it for you, kind of thing. So it's very, very kind offer, but, you know, that's how close they want to keep their branding, which is fair enough. You know, it's totally up to them.
And talking of branding, is there any brand you've not done yet?
Oh, I'm sure there will be. There's that many brands, isn't there, at the minute? Everyone seems
That's me not asking which ones are shit, obviously, you see. It's which brand have you not done?
There's that many that's, like, popping up on Facebook or independent brands now, and it's so much more accessible. The world's such a smaller place than what it used to be. And if I wanted to get 20 bats shipped over and put my stickers all over, you know, I could do that within a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know how good the bats would be. You know, that's where the timing and the branding, you know, that's where it takes time to build a brand. But there's loads of bats out there that, you know, I've probably not done, or brands of bats. And there's probably some that I've done without knowing, because they've come stickered up as something else. Because, again, although official stickers are quite hard to get, there's a market on eBay for people who sell stickers that are slightly different, but you can tell what they are.
Well, there's a new brand just come out in the last couple of days. I've seen AB de Villiers has now got his own brand, 360, because he was a 360 cricketer, so he's called it 360. I'll be interested to see how that one takes off, because he's got an audience and a half, to say the least. And I've made a note in my calendar, because I'm sad with these things. I want to see the first date that I see someone in the UK pop up with one, because they're not actually for sale here. So
it won't be long.
Exactly. Just coming forward to the Ashes, you know, let's look for. Are you expecting any of the lads to be in touch from down south in Australia and going, "Hey, I'm sending you one back, can you sort this?" Or are they taking what they'll use with them, full stop?
Sorry, what do you mean by that? Are they going to send them back from Australia, or?
Yeah, you're going to get an emergency flight.
Are we going to see it break at 3:30 in the morning our time and go, Paige has got that one in a couple of days?
No, I don't. No, they'll save them and bring them back if they care enough about them. I can't imagine they'll be sending them back from Australia. And there's also some great people around who do this in other countries. There's a guy called Pete who works at, I think it's Grace Cricket. He does New Zealand, so I know a lot of the guys who I look after their bats. But they went and saw him, and he dealt with all their bats. So it's nice that you get in touch and you can talk about it and compliment each other's work, and it's quite a nice little community, really. I've not really met that many arseholes or anything like that. Like you're asking me what glue to use. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not telling you. Like, I'm happily open and.
Absolutely.
It's a labour of love, isn't it? Yeah, if you get talking about cricket bats, everyone's got an opinion, and everybody loves it because it's an art form, isn't it? Particularly in the modern world where nobody's not nobody, but fewer people are using their hands on a daily life. It's something to cherish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quick advert for everyone. So, in dead simple terms, if you are anywhere in this country, because let's be honest, they're bloody well driven from all over the place by the sound of things, and you have a problem with your bat, how's the best way to get hold of you, Chris?
Probably on Instagram.
Yeah.
I do a lot of my business through Instagram, so get in touch on that, really, and take it from there. Usually what will happen is they'll send me a picture of the bat, and I usually charge £40 as a flat fee. So if it just needs a tidy up or there's no major cracks in it, it's 40 quid plus postage, so whatever that is. If it needs to be clamped up and overnight, that's obviously more work because you're working on it that evening, that day, and then you're coming back to it another day. It's more days labour. So that usually goes up, in increments of 10. So it might be £50 if there's a big crack or if there's a delaminated face or you want binding putting on or anything like that. It's, it's all relevant. Absolutely. But you're going to be kept busy during the winter, aren't you? I hope so, mate. Yeah. Probably when the Ashes finish. I mean, I've got a baby due in January, so it's a shame they're not coming a month early because then I could stay up all night and look after the young one and give our lass a break, but watch some cricket at the same time. What I'd do is I'd start watching the cricket a month early, preparing yourself for when the baby arrives. It's pre-baby training. Absolutely, or just being on call, yeah. That's a good one. On call, in case one of your players damages a bat, you need to be able to see that happen, I think. No, I meant more if my missus is walking. I know you did. Hey, great chatting, Chris. I've learned stuff that, surprise, surprise, I didn't have a bloody clue about. A bat's a bat to me. I'm that old that I don't pick them up very often, apart from when I'm coaching, to say the least. Mr. Newsome, he's done all right with his this year. There's been a couple of hundreds there. And well, thank you, B3. Yeah, one of your better years, to say the least, hasn't it, mate? Absolutely. Thanks for your time, Chris. No worries. Thanks for joining us at the Premier League Cricket Club. We'll be back soon with more from the world of Premier League and NCCA cricket. But in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review and follow us wherever you get your socials. Or maybe check out our website, premierleaguecricket.co.uk, to stay updated. Until next time, have a good one.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
You know the words dominating today's headlines.
Private equity, generative capital gains tax,
America's chip war with China, market volatility,
on Fed rate cuts.
But do you understand how they impact your world and your wallet? In a world that skims the what, understand the why. Because context changes everything. Subscribe at Bloomberg.com.